We have the Conservatives up. Mr. McLean for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Much appreciated. Housing inflation is homegrown in Canada. We have the second most inflated housing bubble in the world. The average family, their gross income on monthly payments for the average home in Toronto or Vancouver, which Demographia calculates are respectively the world's fifth and second on banking rules, mortgage insurance, monetary policy, money laundering. These are all federal matters. So is housing inflation here and now under this government. That's just inflation. But recently, a group out of Vancouver calling themselves Generation Squeeze was contracted by the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to look at the effects of taxing homeowners on the value of their properties. This is a narrative that the Liberal government and its various publicly funded supporters continue to advance to add more taxes onto the backs of Canadian homeowners. For most Canadians, their home is their largest investment, their pride of ownership in which they invest funds to upgrade, repair, and hold value in relation to all other inflationary factors they will face in retirement. What data do you have at StatsCan that shows how much more the average Canadian household will be paying with this additional Liberal tax on housing?
There is no tax. Oh, sorry.
We don't have any data on that, nor would we speculate on that. I think others would be better to do.
Well, the study's there, Mr. Laura. Tell me, obviously this information comes from somewhere. The speculation isn't just speculation when there's study after study after study about how to do it to tax Canadians on the value of their properties.
Look, we deal in facts, and that's
and we do too. We do too, sir. And with all due respect, this is a fact. This is a report put out by an organization that was contracted by the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Now, surely you've seen that report. Surely you can comment on the data about how much more Canadians are going to have to spend on housing because of an additional tax put forward by a group funded by Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation.
Look, I haven't actually seen that report, and probably that question is better placed to them to find out how or what they're using to arrive at it. When and if that ever becomes material, then of course it'll be part of our system of national accounts.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move on. But material for Canadians means more money to be expected from this government for their ownership of their homes going forward. One of my colleagues talked earlier about the cost of mortgage interest cost and homeowner replacement cost. Now we know the mortgage interest cost is going down because of this government's monetary policy, way more than made up for by the actual increase in the homeowner's replacement cost. And I'm sure you've seen that in your data. The data I have says that, you can take one down by about 6% for Canadians over the last couple of years. That's the mortgage interest, but that's caused an increase of about 15% in the homeowner's replacement cost. So one does not balance the other. Now, we always say that mortgagers don't buy payments or don't buy houses, they buy payments. So their actual replacement cost is going up. How is that reflected in your calculations? Because we're not seeing it. It's so much different from everything else we're seeing as far as our neighbor, the US, for instance.
Thank you for that question, and maybe I'll also ask my colleagues to jump in. I'll just say that you're absolutely right. What we've seen is that the mortgage interest costs, year over year, have gone down by 8.3%. And again, I keep trying to clarify that homeowner replacement cost is not the cost to replace the entire home, as you buy new ones and so on, but it's actually a component of the shelter costs as consumers would feel it in the CPI. But perhaps I could ask Greg or Heidi if they want to add to that answer.
Sure. Essentially, in the CPI is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
You've lost Mr. Peterson. Are you there?
You've lost my camera.
Okay. We can hear you.
Go. Okay. what we do in housing in the CPI is, again, we're measuring the price of consumption. And, CREA does excellent work, right? They're experts in their field. They do super job, but they're measuring the value of the house as an asset. And, what we do, like, most other OECD countries, is we don't include the entire value of that asset into CPI, because in CPI, it's an index of consumption, not of the growth of that asset. Which is why we break down, the cost of housing the way that we do. If I can take kind of there's no question that for people to get into the housing market, they're facing much higher costs than they have in the past. But if I was to take the counterfactual and take a look at a house. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. We were already at 5.5 minutes, so we're going to move to Mr. Baker and the Liberals for